say agents are making a point of recording them and their license plates and then using the information in ways that raise serious privacy concerns. Fox 9's Corn Hoggard talked to some people who have had agents lead them right to their own homes. As he tells us, it sounds like a federal judge also has issues with that behavior.
Whether agents are allowed to access your private data using license plate readers or facial recognition was not part of the judge's ruling, but she did say observers established a pattern of ICE agents attempting to chill their First Amendment rights. When Judy and Noah Levy started following ICE agents driving away from a St. Paul shopping center last week, the agents stopped them almost immediately. Video shows an agent apparently recording their license plate and Noah Levy's face. Seconds later, an agent tapped on Judy's window.
He said, "How can I help you, Judith? Are you having a good day, Judith?" And we knew right away he got that from our plates.
Yeah, he was menacing us.
The Levys didn't back down. They kept following, but soon found themselves in a familiar neighborhood.
ICE is at my house.
Their experience mirrors that of dozens of observers, including Ryan Eklund, who noticed an agent recording his information as he followed in Woodbury this week.
They started to drive towards my neighborhood and must have run my plate because they drove into my neighborhood and into my cul-de-sac where I live. There's no circumstance where they would have rolled through there without knowing that.
There's a lot of warrantless data collection going on here, of observers, of protesters, of just individuals who are seemingly in the area of an ICE detention or ICE action.
ACLU attorney John Beeler says ICE agents are allowed to photograph license plates or people out in public, but they haven't explained what they're doing with the photos. Minnesota law restricts how law enforcement can use that type of data, usually allowing it only in active criminal investigations, not for identification of peaceful observers. If the goal is to frighten people out of legally recording them, though, it's working in at least some cases.
I don't know that I'll be continuing to follow ICE.
I'm not going to follow them. I'm scared.
I'll still do it, but that's an important thing. You can still participate within your level of comfort.
And the judge ruled yesterday that ICE agents are not allowed to retaliate in any way against people engaged in peaceful protest, which includes the people who are following and recording them. But no judge has ruled on the privacy concerns. In St. Paul, Corn Hoggard.
Well, see, that's the thing with the ICE trying to do. They're trying to intimidate people and preventing them for exercise of the First Amendment, which is, you have freedom of speech and the freedom to assemble and freedom of petition and freedom of press. Stop recording them. And you go around ICE agents want to violate people's First Amendment rights, but you got the right-wing gobblers of Trump was saying, "Oh, they're just doing an investigation. Oh, it's protocol." No, you don't violate people's First Amendment rights. They need to have a reasonable, articulated suspicion of them being undocumented or criminal activity.
Are concerned about their safety, some worrying the operations will turn violent or they'll be detained even if they are U.S. citizens. Now this week, local leaders called these actions, quote, instrument of fear, and eroded the relationship the community has with law enforcement. Today, Sheriff Oscar Ugarte addressed the community during a town hall meeting, talking about a recent bill that passed that required county sheriff offices to agree to partnerships with Homeland Security. He says his office will only operate through a warrant service officer model. Now, this allows them to be able to detain immigrants with warrants in jails so ICE can take custody versus joining ICE on street operations. He also talks about what to do if you see ICE in your community.
If you see any federal law enforcement out in our community, do not interfere with their investigations. Do not block driveways. Do not assault them. Do not damage any federal property. Once you do that, it'll be a criminal offense. If you do not agree with ICE and if you want to protest, you have a right to protest, but you need to protest from a distance.
Now, Ugarte says his deputy's main priority is keeping the community safe overall. We spoke to an immigration attorney earlier this week. She said a citizen does not have to prove their status to an ICE officer, but you should provide at least your driver's license. If you don't have your ID, that could result in a detention, which they say is unlawful and illegal. Now, she goes on to say that if you're an undocumented immigrant, you should reach out to an immigration attorney, which allows lawyers to respond faster if you are detained. Our anchor, Monica Cortez, will have a
A Maryland mother who spent 25 days in ICE custody is speaking out for what she says will be the last time. Dulce Consuelo Diaz-Morales was arrested by ICE agents in Baltimore back in December. The 22-year-old says she was born in Maryland, but the federal government says she is not a U.S. citizen and they want her out of the country. Our Rafael Sanchez-Cruz is here in the studio with me. And Rafa, I know a lot of people at home are asking right now, how could this happen?
Yeah, Lorenzo, the attorneys representing Dulce Diaz-Morales say border officials made a processing mistake when she was re-entering the U.S. after an emergency trip. She didn't have the proper documentation. Now, border agents allegedly showed her a document and asked her if it was from Mexico. Diaz-Morales says she said yes by mistake because she was nervous, but it was too late. They started deportation proceedings. Those continue today. Dulce Consuelo Diaz-Morales is offering insight into what her attorneys say was an illegal arrest of a U.S. citizen by ICE. They told me I had two options, buy my ticket or they would deport me. At that moment, I told them I was born here and that they could investigate me. DHS insists Diaz-Morales told officials she was a Mexican citizen and that she has not provided evidence to prove she's a U.S. citizen.
She was born in Maryland on October 18, 2003. That fact is supported by a certified Maryland birth certificate, contemporaneous hospital records from Laurel Regional Hospital, affidavits from individuals who were at her birth.
Diaz-Morales attorneys calling her arrest a dangerous precedent.
The government effectively shifted the burden onto a U.S. citizen to prove her citizenship while she was incarcerated.
This week, ICE placed an ankle monitor on the Maryland mother. She's under constant ICE supervision. Check-ins could last up to 8 hours, according to her attorneys, who are fighting for this case to be dismissed before her next court appearance in July. The case playing out as Maryland Delegate Ashanti Martinez is pushing a bill allowing Marylanders to file civil lawsuits against federal agents who violate constitutional rights.
This bill, what it plans to do is provide folks with a pathway to keep these agents accountable. If folks understood that no matter what, they are not above the law here in Maryland, I do believe that there will be a different approach when it comes to interacting in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, Maryland lawmakers are also considering a bill to ban federal agents from wearing face coverings. In Montgomery County, council members are introducing their own face covering ban and another proposal to bar ICE agents from government buildings. As for Diaz-Morales, the next step is to get her a U.S. passport, but it's still unclear if that will stop the U.S. government from sending her to Mexico, separating her from her 5-year-old son, Lorenzo.
Yeah, a birth certificate, other supporting documents. I don't know what more you need to prove that you're a U.S. citizen. But, Rafa, I want to touch on this point you mentioned there. This check-in with ICE that lasts for at least 8 hours.
Yeah, I guess they're asking her a series of questions. Her attorneys say this is an attempt to intimidate her and pressure her as they continue repeating the same question over and over, perhaps maybe wanting her to slip up in one of her answers, as she has already done when she was pressured when she was re-entering the country.
Wow. All right. Thank you for that answer.
Ranking Member Jayapal and distinguished members of Congress, thank you for the invitation to testify before you today. My name is Mubashir Khalif Hussain. I am a 20-year-old U.S. citizen. My family is Somali, and when I was 6 or 7 years old, my family arrived in the United States as refugees from Ethiopia. 8 months after arriving in the United States, we moved to Minnesota. I became a naturalized citizen in 2019, along with my parents and my siblings. But my citizenship did not protect me from being physically detained and hurt by ICE agents. On December 10, 2025, I was at work in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. Around 1 p.m., I heard a commotion and what sounded like whistles and car horns. When I looked out the window, I saw what I assumed were ICE agents on the street. I did not want to be confronted by ICE, so I waited 20 or 30 minutes until the sounds died down before taking my lunch break. As I exited the building, I paused to speak with someone on the street about what had happened earlier. That was when I noticed an unmarked 10 SUV approaching us. A man wearing a ski mask and a police-style vest exited the vehicle and quickly walked towards me. The man did not say stop or identify himself. I turned to walk away, hoping he would leave me alone. The man quickened his pace, grabbed me forcefully, and pushed me into a restaurant. and asked, "Why are you running from me?" I was not running. I was just walking away because I did not want to talk to him. I knew that ICE agents had been targeting people that looked like me. I immediately started repeating over and over again, "I'm a citizen, I'm a citizen, I'm a citizen." But the agent did not stop to look at my ID. As second ICE agent entered the restaurant, they dragged me outside and put me into a headlock on the ground. I repeated, "I'm a citizen, I have an ID." The agent kept saying, "That don't matter, that don't matter." They put me in the back of an SUV. While I was sitting in the back of the SUV, my boss came out with a copy of my passport card. He held a paper on the agent's windshield, but the officers ignored him and refused to take the documents into account. They eventually drove me one street over before parking and told me they had to scan my face. I was terrified of what they were going to do a picture of me, and I did not trust them. I would not let them take a picture of me. The officer also kept telling me that they were going to take me in if I did not let them scan my face. One of the officers pulled out his phone and threatened to push a button and call for transport. At that point, there were 3 ICE agents with me in the car. My back hurt from when I was putting a headlock on the ground, and the handcuffs were extremely tight on my wrist. Each time I asked the agent, "Can you please loosen the handcuffs?" he would squeeze my hands. When I asked for medical attention for my back and my wrist, the original ICE agent told me there were going to be medical assistance at the facility. After about half an hour, the ICE agent drove me to their office near Fort Snelling. When we arrived, they forced me to take the face scan. When we got into a building, the agents took the handcuffs off me and put shackles on my ankles before searching me. I asked for water. They said no. Then an employee told me I was getting deported. I again insisted that I was a citizen and that I could show proof of it on my phone. I showed a picture of my passport card to a woman at the ICE office. She took a picture of my passport card and then searched for my name in the criminal database. Eventually, she said, "Kick him out." It is difficult to believe that this happened to me. I knew that the president had made statements about Somali people and that there would be additional ICE officers in the Twin Cities focused on Somali people. But I did not think that this would happen to me, someone in my family. We are all United States citizens, so we should not be at risk of being jailed or deported by ICE. In the neighborhood in which I work, I hear screaming all the time, coming from encounters with federal immigration agents. I also hear whistles and honking all the time. When I hear these things, my heart starts beating really fast and I can't breathe. It brings me back to what I went through, and it almost feels like it's happening to me again. It is terrifying right now, wherever I go. I am here today because what happened to me is wrong. The targeting, harassing, violence, and detention of Somali American is wrong. And I am worried for the safety of me, my family, and my neighbors and community. If Congress does not act, we will continue to be harmed simply for living in the United States of America. Thank you.
Agent accused of a deadly New Year's Eve shooting in the San Fernando Valley is now facing shocking allegations of abuse and using hateful remarks, according to a new LA Times report. And now the family of the man who was shot to death is continuing to look for justice. For that, we go live to Fox 11's Rachel Aragon with the latest. Rachel?
Well, Phil, the attorney for that family telling me earlier today he believes that these new explosive allegations first reported by the LA Times, he believes this could be the basis now for either a hate crime or possibly a race-related crime. Take a look here to get some background on this New Year's Eve killing. We know that 43-year-old father of 2, Keith Porter, was fatally shot just after 10:30 p.m. by an off-duty ICE agent at an apartment complex in Northridge. LAPD said Keith Porter was firing celebratory shots in the air with an AR-15 style rifle. vehicle. The off-duty agent, who also lives in the apartment complex, heard the gunfire and confronted Porter. While DHS security officials alleging Porter pointed a rifle at the off-duty agent during a confrontation in Northridge. The agent then shot and killed Porter. Now, DHS claims the off-duty ICE officer bravely, they say, responded to an active shooter situation at his apartment complex and was forced, they claim, to use his weapon to protect his life and others at the complex. Well, according to a new LA Times report, court documents obtained by the outlet accusing the officer of child abuse and even making racist and homophobic remarks in the past. The attorney today, though, for the family wanting to know from ICE, is this individual still patrolling the community with an ICE uniform? And he also wants to know, was there ever any background check to allow this man to carry a firearm?
So at this stage, we are left puzzled, questioning what due diligence, if any, did ICE do either before hiring him or after. So it appears as though either it was a negligent hire or negligent retention, because this information certainly could be discovered.
And the attorney you heard from right there, again, he wants to get the Attorney General of California involved to investigate again because he believes there could be a basis for a hate-related crime. We also reached out to DHS earlier today about those explosive allegations first reported by the LA Times, and we are still waiting to hear back. For Atlanta Tonight, I'm Rachel Aragon. Phil, I'll send it back to you.
So, Rachel, the newspaper mentions the identity of this ICE agent, but he hasn't officially been identified by authorities, right?
Correct. The LA Times does, in fact, identify that man based off of other court filings that identify him. So we reached out to the attorney for that off-duty ICE agent. And this was interesting, Phil. She talked to me just a few minutes ago. She says that there was an investigation into child abuse, but she said that the allegations were unfounded. There was no evidence following the investigation of child abuse. She also says that her client denies making any racist remarks. And she also says that her client acted in self-defense, not just for himself, but also for the apartment complex. And she refutes what the attorney says. She says there is evidence to show that her client had a gun pointed in his direction by that man in Northridge. So again, you have two different sides here, but definitely a story will continue to follow.
Definitely. All right. Thank you, Rachel Aragon. Appreciate that. All this here while the deadly ICE shooting of Renee Good last week in Minneapolis continues to spark protests. A new report by the fire department there shows that the 37-year-old woman sustained multiple gunshot wounds, chest, arm, and head. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. On Wednesday, an ICE agent shot another person in the leg during another confrontation there. Federal officials say that injury not deadly. Today, President Trump pulled back on a threat to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy the military.
And if I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it. But if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
The government says one person has been arrested for allegedly stealing government property, including documents on a gun from an FBI vehicle there this week. Additionally, 12 people whom the Department of Homeland Security referred to as anti-ICE.
Those officers? Oh my God, why are there so many, Robert?
This is insane. This is like literally, oh shit. Oh shit. I can't get arrested.
That's attorney and activist Robert Held. You've seen him before at the Katie Faye News Channel. He's from Chicago, but he's in Minneapolis right now. And he joined me live to be able to tell you what is happening on the streets of Minneapolis. Let's take a listen. And joining me now from Minneapolis, Minnesota is none other than Robert Held, a dear friend, lawyer from Chicago. And you know, Robert, I'm going to say activist, and you are actually walking the walk, my friend. You are going to the places where it's important. Tell us exactly where you are and what you're seeing.
So I'm at the Whipple Federal Building right here in Minneapolis, where protesters have gathered and been particularly active since the death of the murder of Nicole Good. And I'm on Federal Way, and you can actually see behind me the federal building right over my shoulder. We have federal agents that are entering and leaving the building on a frequent basis, and protesters behind me that are, I would say, exercising their First Amendment rights.
Something that you know well, Robert, you have been at Broadview Detention Facility in Chicago, exercising your First Amendment free speech rights. Tell us how the protesters have been treated outside of the Whipple Federal Building where you guys have been.
Well, when I got here this morning, shortly after my arrival, a phalanx of about 30 federal agents in full military gear, brandishing their weapons, marched across the street over my shoulder. We're all on this sidewalk that you can see behind me, and you can see the protesters. They marched aggressively across the street, singled out one particular woman protester and arrested her on the spot and dragged her away. And that was, I don't know, about 5 hours ago or so.
Robert, what was she doing when they did that?
Well, at the time, she was doing nothing. She was standing amongst all of us, shouting, saying things to the agents that came by in their vehicles. But I had observed her. She, made a name for herself, so to speak, because what she would do is she would go up to the cars that were arriving, and she would literally put her camera almost against the window that the agents, of the agents' vehicles, and obviously taking pictures or video of agents that did not have a mask on. And then she would go and photograph their license plate. And I'm sure that she had their attention, and they made a determination. I mean, they've had a drone out here. They've got all kinds of monitoring equipment. They know exactly who's here and what we're doing. I'm sure there's also electronic monitoring. So they came out, in my view, with a specific intention of going up to her and placing her under arrest, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, Robert, we do know that in Illinois and in Minnesota, there's been lawsuits filed by those states and by the cities that one of the things is addressing biometric technology that the federal agents have been using to take pictures and to try to create almost like a directory of what they're trying to deem to be opposition. One thing, Robert, well as a lawyer is this idea of the possible invocation of the Insurrection Act by Donald Trump. Do you think that the federal agents are intentionally trying to instigate violence with the protesters?
It's interesting. And you, as a lawyer, are aware that we can say facts that we know.
Yeah.
We can observe things. We can hear things. We can see things. And so what we know are facts. But what we almost never know is what's in someone's mind. So all I can say is that the tactics and the weapons and the conduct that I observed in Chicago during Operation Midway Blitz from September through a month or so ago were aggressive, violent tactics. What I see on the videos and what I saw this morning are a much more aggressive style, a much more emboldened stance that the agents are taking. With Vice President Vance saying that they have absolute immunity, which is something they don't have, but something he said they have, they appear to be acting much more aggressively and much more brazenly and much more dangerously. And it's sad for individuals and the communities and the American people.
Robert, we also know that, for example, last night there was a minivan or small SUV full of children, and that there was a family trying to get out of a clash in the street, and federal agents let stun grenades off underneath the van and also tear gas, so much so that the children were hospitalized. The 6-month-old was unconscious as a result. I mean, those are the people that they're trying to paint as being Antifa or being violent leftists or doing horrible things. I don't see any of that behind you, Robert. I just see people waving flags and shouting and maybe honking the horns when they're driving by.
Yeah, the protesters, and I didn't see that incident, but we know of incidents in Chicago itself where children, small children and even babies, have been tear gassed and maced. Protesters, from my observation, they are shouting. They are being derogatory and vulgar. They're using curse words. They're blowing whistles. They're giving the finger. Shaking their fist. They're displaying emotion and their anger, disdain, disgust, and sadness about what the administration is doing. But there's no violence here. I didn't see a single rock thrown. I didn't even see a snowball thrown. They're just literally yelling at the agents.
Robert, earlier you were also at the memorial for Renee Nicole Good at the actual scene where she was murdered. Talk about the sentiment there and kind of what's going on at that memorial site.
Well, very different from what you can hear perhaps going on behind me.
Yeah,
very somber, very sad. Some people had made a small fire for warmth. There were people handing out food. There were people just talking in small groups. And it was a very somber, very sad memorial, with piles and piles of flowers and notes of well wishes and, feelings of camaraderie, community support. And so really just, a dozen or more people, some foreign journalists, I should say, were there as well. Really interesting, but really just a somber, sad community get-together, if you will, of strangers, people from all over the country. I met people from LA and from the East Coast, Wisconsin, and various other states that came there, really just to pay their respects.
Did you get a chance to speak with any of those foreign journalists that were there?
Just informally, there was RTL, which is a major conglomerate from Germany and France. And then here, there was a journalist from Sweden, from Germany, and of course the Spanish stations as well.
But did any of them express to you kind of what the thoughts are or the feelings are from their countries, what they're looking at happening in our United States, Robert?
Well, it's interesting you say that because the journalists are the ones usually asking the questions. I tried to ask questions, but they were at work, and so I didn't get as much of a chance to get a real exchange going. But what they did say is that, look, the people in Europe are interested in what's happening in America. They made reference to Germany in the 1940s, the fascism, the dictatorship, of Hitler. They made reference to that history and how the Europeans are interested in what's happening here. And they made reference to the fact of where is this going? Where's the trajectory? Katie, I don't know if you would mind, but when the federal agents become aggressive like they are now, I like to put them in their place. If you want it, if you don't mind, I'd like to pick up my bullhorn and do what I do.
Go ahead. Do it.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you're going to stay on the air with me.
I'm gonna stay on. I want to hear what you're doing. I want people to see what's happening there, Robert.
There's almost as many foreign journalists here as there are, domestic journalists. We did have CNN, the Minneapolis newspaper, the Star was here. Yeah. And, but like I said, with the foreign journalists here, I find it very, very interesting.
Go, Robert, go.
Okay, officers, you need to stand down. You need to step back and stand down. Okay, it looks like they are. I think they are gonna stand down. So
were they trying to cross the street, Robert?
What they're trying. See, we have Marshall amongst us here, who is a protester who puts a vest on and keeps people out of the street. Yeah. I think there is a little bit of a danger with all the slush and the snow and the ice. So there is a bit of a danger, and I appreciate that the marshal, keeps us on the street. But there's no reason for the federal agents to try to police us. So that's why I started to intervene there.
Sure. Robert, I want to remind people, you and I first got to know each other when you, again, were protesting outside of Broadview. You let Gregory Bovino know exactly what you thought about him. And you also did a little bit of a, attempted mooning of Bovino and the federal agents and then showed them your sprinting expertise. But Robert, you're from Chicago. You're an accomplished, successful lawyer. What are you doing in Minneapolis? Why was it so important for you to go there?
Katie, every person with a conscience is speaking up, standing up, shoulder to shoulder, to support the immigrants, the communities that are being terrorized and traumatized. Katie, I just want to tell you that I can see and that the federal agents are swarming. They're in their riot gear, and there's going to be another. They're going to do something out here because this is what they do. They come out with their gear. I've seen more than a dozen, perhaps 20 of them that are walking in the parking lot of the federal building. I'll just pan a little bit. Well, you won't be able to see them, but where those cars are behind me is where they were just walking, and so they're gonna probably form up and come out here shortly. I don't know why they feel like they have to do the show of force, because it is a peaceful assembly, other than with people perhaps jaywalking, because they are in the street and you might be able to see them in the street there, other than some jaywalking.
But they're not obstructing federal vehicles. They're not obstructing federal agents. They're not doing anything right now, right?
They're not doing anything right now other than shouting at the vehicles that go by. The ones that are honking are generally showing support for the protesters, and the ones that are not honking are generally either neutral or they're ICE that are hostile. By the way, I should tell you that many of the ICE agents that drive by have their phones up to their window. So they think that it's either intimidating or they're gathering data. And you mentioned the biometric piece of the Illinois lawsuit that was filed against the administration just 5 days ago. But they are, these agents are filming us with their own phones. I don't know why, but part of that lawsuit that you alluded to earlier by the state of Illinois against the administration alleges that ICE is using an app that can take a picture of a face and then ID it and then store it for 15 years, according to the lawsuit just filed.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of terrifying to know what they're capable of doing. Robert, I want to say thank you for giving us literally a play-by-play of what's happening in Minneapolis right now. I want to urge you to stay warm. I know that's kind of tough to do. It's cold there, but I also want to urge you to stay safe. And I want to say thank you sincerely for all of your advocacy, and keep us posted when you can and let us know how you're doing, okay?
You are so welcome. It's great to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, my friend. Be safe.
Okay.
Katie Fang here. We launched the Katie.
Why would you spray a 15-year-old kid?
Interrupting an investigation.
So you spray a 15-year-old girl?
You should teach her not to be involved in
So you spray a kid?
I asked her how old she was.
What's your number?
Back up.
Okay. Come on, Sophia. I'm gonna have to take you to the emergency room.
Where's my AirPod go?
What you guys do to a little girl? I don't know where your AirPod went. Thank you for having some decency. Put your head back. Put your head back.
I can't see still, Mom.
Wipe your eyes.
I can't see.
Yeah, my daughter better not be fucking blinded either from y'all.
What's in my mouth?
Spit it out.
I can't.
Put some water in your mouth and spit it.
She's a minor.
She's a fucking kid.
I can't see.
Which one of you guys did this? You, huh?
It's the one who was at her door.
This one?
No, this one.
This one did?
This one covered.
This one? Okay, you're gonna be all over the fucking internet too. Get away from my daughter, please.
Yes, I am out of my car. I'm with the minor student.
That's okay for you to do.
No. Yes, it's okay. She was speaking her voice.
Do not. No, you can't. No, you don't. She's a minor.
She's a minor.
She's a minor. You just pepper sprayed her in the eye.
To the federal agent. Take her inside. Take her inside.
She doesn't. We don't even live here.
So what are you guys doing here?
Observing. It's our legal right, isn't it?
This is great. Listen, we're just waiting.
Fucking wrong. Fucking wrong. Sophia, you need to go to the car.
I can't see.
I will walk you.
I can't see.
I got you.
Why is my mouth burning?
I have more water. school.
The best thing to do is just run water away from the body.
These ICE agents just pepper spray a minor.
United States and his underlings and his persons who are in charge of very powerful agencies within the federal government, if they can convince this country or some significant portion of the people in this country that Miss Renee Good was a terrorist, I fear for the lives of the people in this country. In fact, I fear for my own life.
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them.
I'm not afraid to speak truth to power. I'm not afraid to speak truth about power. I'm going to speak truth about power today, but I can tell you that I fear for our lives. Because if you can justify what happened to Miss Good after seeing with your very own eyes what took place, and if we can allow the king's men to conclude that only they can investigate this, remove the local constabulary from the process, if this can happen, I fear for our lives. We are now living in a country where people are expected to believe that this mother of three, a Christian woman, seated in her vehicle, yes, the vehicle was across the roadway, but that somehow she was a terrorist. The head of Homeland Security has as much as said so. A terrorist. Mr. Speaker, I fear for our lives because what we saw when this lady, this woman, was accosted, and I say accosted because men who had on masks in police regalia, I suppose, approached her rather aggressively, it seems to me, and one of them in approaching said, "Get the F out of the car." I'm not using the profanity, but that's what was said. You can see it for yourselves and you can hear it for yourselves. That is what was said. Get the F out of the car. When men can approach a female in a car and say this to her and expect her to immediately respond in a positive manner, and if she does not and attempts to drive away, if they can take her life, I fear for our lives. Do not assume that it can only happen to her. They aggressively approached her. Cars were going around her in various ways. But when she made her move to extricate herself, to move along, to move her car, officers started to shoot. She was shot. One officer shot through the side window as she was moving away. Now, you don't have to know this lady. I don't know her. I don't know who she was, other than what I have seen and what I have read. But the truth is, officers ought not be allowed to do what was done to this lady. There should be an investigation that includes the local constabulary. If you truly want to be transparent, if you truly believe in liberty and justice for all, if you want the people in this country to believe that what occurred was the right thing, then you would want the local constabulary to be involved. But no, this administration is shutting out the local investigation, and they are including only the federal investigation, which means by some thought processes that they have no desire to let this go to a trial. There are people who believe that this administration has no desire to let this case go to a trial. For edification purposes, I am one of them. I don't believe that they want this case to go to a trial. I think that this is why they have decided that only the federal authorities will investigate. I also believe that if the case goes to a trial, and if there is a conviction, and it is a federal conviction, I believe this president will do for the person or persons convicted. I believe he will do for them what he did for the people who assaulted the citadel of democracy on January 6th. I believe he will pardon. And I believe he will do it without question, reservation, or hesitation, just as he did it for those persons who assaulted this Capitol.
I think, yeah.
And he did it immediately after being sworn in.
He's going to pardon all those cops in
Mr.
Yep.
Speaker,
Roy Oliver, Amber Geiger.
I fear for the lives of the American people. And again, I say, that includes me. I think we have a reckless, ruthless outlaw
harder to let them get their jobs back.
Who has found his way into the presidency. And to further validate my thinking, I have here the words of the President of the United States of America, Donald John Trump. Here are his words when asked if there were any limits on his international power. I know what happened within the country was national. This deals with international power. Give me just a moment, please, of your time so that I might connect these dots. When asked if there were any limits on his international power, here's his response. It's my own morality, my own mind is the only thing that can stop me.
Yep.
Some things bear repeating. My own morality, my own mind is the only thing that can stop me. Mr. President, what about Congress? What about the Constitution?
Yeah.
What about the power to declare war? And where is that power vested? What about it, Mr. President? Only your mind? Only your morality? I won't go into the president's moral standards.
I got a little something I'm going to play for you. Someone made a song. It's the Renee Good song. 3 Shots, a song for Renee Good. The Midnight Republic. Heck yeah. I'll play audio just in case. But yeah, this is good. Writer, poet, mother, protector.
January morning, Portland Avenue. Mother standing watch outside the school. 6 weeks of terror in our neighborhood. She blocked the street, doing what she could. Whistles in the winter air, warning neighbors everywhere. A poet mother, 3 kids at home, protecting strangers on her own.
lost
beneath
the truth.
Now one more. Enough is enough. We won't be ignored. Now one more. Now one more. This is our line. Hear our voices roar. He held his cell phone while he held his gun. She just dropped off a 6-year-old
son.
Christian woman rider, U.S. born, left bleeding in the early morning. They wouldn't let the doctor near. 8 minutes drowning in a fear. The 9th time they've opened fire. 5th life taken, stakes get higher. 3 shots fired, 700 milliseconds, steering wheel turn right. We got the questions, they say she tried to kill, but we seen the proof. Another soul lost beneath the truth. Now one more. Enough is enough. We won't be ignored. Now one more. Now one more. This is our line. Hear our voices roar. 1 mile from where Floyd died, Minneapolis knows their lies. They killed Renee Good in broad daylight. They called her the terrorist, said she wasn't right. But the mayor said that's bullshit, and we saw what the cameras got. The governor named a day for her. We're marching and we won't stop. We've drawn the line. 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 More. 3 shots fired. We remember her name. Renee Good died. No one held to blame. They can spin their lives from their golden towers, but these streets are ours. This is our hour. Now one more. Now one more. Enough is enough. We won't be ignored. Now one more. Now one more. This is our line. Hear our voices roar. Now one more. Now one more.
Nicole, good. April 2nd, 1988, January 7th, 2026. Or with that, I'm on here much up. Peace out.